Hi, my name is Ryan Long and I'm an Associate Professor of Spanish here at the University of Maryland. About a year and a half ago, my good friend John Raz asked me whether I could host this exhibit about Braceros photography at the university. John is the curator of the exhibit. He is the one who selected all of the photos, organized them by theme, and wrote the captions. He also wrote the room notes. John is one of the leading experts in photography in the world and probably the leading expert in Mexican photography. He sent me the digital files, and over the last year and a half I've been looking for a space and the time and the support to print out the files and have them exhibited. And I really appreciate the Latin American Studies Center's willingness to make this space available and the help of everybody here to make the photos visible for 2 months. I brought the exhibition to the Latin American Studies Center after speaking with the director of the center, Britta Anderson, and with the program coordinator, Eric Tomala, and they generously agreed to provide the space at no cost. Having the exhibit at the Latin American Studies Center is perfect because it is a good space to have this particular number of photos. It is focused on issues related to the photos, and it is open several days a week for many hours so that the photos are accessible. These photographs are photographs taken by a photography collective called the Hermanos Mayo, or the Mayo brothers. They aren't actually brothers in the biological sense, but they were brothers in solidarity. All of them fought in, and many of them were photographers during the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939. They left Spain after the defeat of the Republican cause in Spain, which they supported, and arrived in Mexico in 1939. They brought to Mexico cameras that were less commonly used in Mexico, that is, smaller format 35mm cameras, which made it easier for them to take pictures up close, to take many pictures at once, and to take pictures on the street without having to travel with a lot of equipment, large format negatives, or even glass plates. The Hermanos Mayo photographed more than 5 million images over the course of 3 decades, and they really focused a lot on workers' struggles. In fact, their last name, or their so-called last name, Mayo, has to do with the May Day celebrations or protests in Madrid in the early 1930s that they photographed, which originally gave them their moniker. Their focus on the worker struggle and their focus on ordinary people and what they have to go through to get by are really relevant to current debates about immigration and discussions about immigration. The Braceros program, which was officially in place from 1942 to 1964, was part of an agreement between the U.S. government and the Mexican government to bring Mexican laborers, both farm workers and urban workers, especially railroad workers in that second category, to the United States to replace a lot of the labor lost during World War II because of the number of workers who were fighting abroad. So you could say that the discourse about immigration with an agreement like this, where it was legal and governments agreed to bring people across borders, is probably much better than the kind of discourse we're hearing from many of our leaders today. However, it's important to remember, and I think these photos really show, that even though this was a legal framework for immigration, there are still economic forces and powerful people who are determining who can stay where, who finds themselves obliged to move, who finds themselves displaced, and who is welcome where and when and for how long, and of course who is not welcome. So if you look at these pictures, and if you look at the faces, the way that some are in focus, the way that others are not, the directions they're looking, the way the pictures depict movement, even though of course they're still images, you can think about the kinds of mobility or lack of mobility and desire for movement and lack of movement that many people around the world today are engaging in order to improve their lives. And some of the pictures really stand out in relation to the current context in the United States. There is an entire section called Farewells, which includes more than one picture of a man saying goodbye to his child, which of course resonates very clearly with recent separations of families and children on the border in the States and Mexico right now. These pictures are indexes that fly in the face of the generalizing hateful rhetoric that defines so much about the immigration experience today. And I hope that you can please come and look at these photographs. They are here at the Latin American Studies Center on the 4th floor of Patterson Hall every Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock until May 5th. Please come and check out the work of the Hermanos Mayo, the work of curator John Raz, and of course the images of the Braceros, most of which are from the 1940s. Thank you very much.